Hey guys, how's it going? Matt here with another episode. I'm building out this Ford Transit 350 HD into a mobile podcasting, video production studio, and home on wheels that I will use to continue my journey around the world. I was cycling, but now I'm trying to convert this van into something very unique, very interesting. It was a cargo van when I bought it, and there was no windows in it. And one of the pieces of this puzzle was putting windows around it so that I could use the windows as my studio, so people can sit in the back in the lounge and then look out, and I can record videos from the inside, and you can see the outside through the windows and integrate the outside with the inside. And so as part of this beginning process of building out the van, I organized a tour called the North American Van Life Industry Tour. I'm traveling around North America picking up components for the van, and so I picked up all the windows that I needed. We have this window here, which is a CR Lawrence, and the other side has a CR Lawrence as well, and there we go. But all the other windows these aren't windows, are in the shop there. I'm gonna install them. Installing the windows has been a real pain in my ass. I have done, and I'm just being honest with you guys, I have done a horrible job installing these windows. They have been a real pain in my side, but today we are going to finish the windows. It's actually the last day I have to finish the windows, because tomorrow it's going to be raining and it's going to be really shitty weather. Today's hot, it's not windy, and we have an opportunity to finish this job. Let me tell you a little story about why these windows are cardboard. And it's kind of interesting. So I'm staying in Portland. We're in Washington right now in a city called Washougal. And I'm staying with friends in Portland. And yesterday I drove the van here to finish my windows for the third time. The first time I did the windows, I installed the CR Lawrence windows, which are built on a clamp ring design, which means there's a ring on the inside that clamps to the outside edge. And so that's how these windows are mounted. But all the other windows are actually just stuck on with a urethane bead, like a caulk, like a urethane bead around the outside edge, and then it sticks on. The first time I did it, the weather was so cold, like freezing, like just on the precipice of freezing, that the urethane bead did not adhere to either the surface of the window or the surface of the van in a few specific places. And so when I actually did the window job, I thought I did a decent job. I waited a couple of days, and then I sprayed water on it to do a water test. And water came out of every single window. Even the CR Lawrences were leaking. On top of it, I'm getting leaks here on the sidewall. It's pooling all the way up here. And I'm leaking along this whole edge here. It's pooling here, and I'm leaking there. Even the CRLs, I have leaking here, which I don't know why, and there's leaking there as well. Yeah, I don't know. So I called up Van Windows Direct and I said, what did I do wrong? And I think it was just too cold to do it. I was doing it. This is not a heated bay area here. I was doing all the repairs by myself. This tour was sort of about learning how to do the work, but also having opportunities where people could show me how to do the work too. And the windows were something that I thought I could tackle on my own. And for the most part, I did okay. I actually cut out the windows. The cutting out of the windows was kind of cool. It was also a little nerve-wracking because I was actually cutting into the surface of the van, and once you cut out holes in your van, there's no turning back. But I put the windows on, I thought it was good, then we did the water test and then it wasn't. So I pulled the windows off and I resealed them. Second time it was a bust too. And the people at Just Roaming Design, my buddies, they were saying, man, Matt, you are very unlucky with regards to windows. They said they'd never seen windows leak like they did with me. And most of the windows were my fault. This window on the sliding door was actually leaking from the sliding window section. This seam, the whole seam here, is leaking.
the whole thing.
I contacted Van Windows Direct, and they said they had never seen their windows leak like that, and that they're willing to send me a new window. And so they sent me the next window. I got it next day. Van Windows Direct was very, very quick in helping me solve the problem. I kept looking at the timing for good weather, because I felt like one of the major problems was that the van body was not hot enough, and the material was not hot enough, and the windows were not hot enough. And so when things were so cold, the urethane was not bonding with either surface. So I came out here yesterday for the third time to take the windows off and redo them. I was gung-ho, ready to go. I removed all the windows, I cleaned the windows, I cleaned the van surfaces. When I was removing the windows, which was something I didn't cover a lot because it was a very frustrating thing, you basically have these pulleys on a wire, and you take that wire and it goes through the urethane. One is on the outside, one is on the inside, and you basically use that wire, which is a stainless steel wire, to cut out the window. Along the way, I scratched up the surface of the van because that wire every so often would touch the van surface, and so I was scraping off paint, and I was getting so frustrated because I have this virgin window and I'm just screwing them up. And of course I'm scratching my van, which I hate doing. It's very lucky that it's my van, so I'm not like ruining somebody else's vehicle. It's just mine. It is what it is. But yesterday I cut out the windows and I was gonna try and put the new ones in, but yesterday was not like it is right now. The wind is not blowing, but yesterday it was blowing at like 40 miles an hour. It was blowing so hard I could barely hold the windows up, let alone place them in. There was dust flying. It was being picked up from the valley and being blown across, and the whole city was under a wind advisory. And I was getting really frustrated at that point because here I am ready to do it, and I pulled all the windows out and I had these open cavities, and I couldn't put the windows back in. I went home, but before I did, I said, I can't leave this van sitting out in the streets of Portland, because I was parked in the street. I can't leave it sitting out there with these big open cavities all night long. Somebody's gonna steal my van. They're just gonna jump through one of the window holes and rip apart the dashboard. I don't know. The crime in Portland, especially with regards to stealing cars and stealing catalytic converters and stuff, is well known. So before we start actually replacing the windows, I thought it would be fun to show you what I did. This is a bit of a long diatribe, but I thought it was a funny story. So I took the windows that I had pulled out and I laid them on pieces of cardboard that actually were from how I got the windows in the beginning. They came in cardboard boxes, big pieces of cardboard. And I took the cardboard and I traced the shape, and I cut the shape to the shape of each window piece. So these are cardboard, and I'll show you the inside. And so what I did is I took these pieces that were also from the Van Windows Direct boxes, and I used them as braces for the cardboard. And so it's actually pretty interesting, because the outside at night, especially as it got darker, you couldn't tell that these windows weren't windows at all. They were just pieces of cardboard that I spray painted. I used some flat black spray paint, and so I spray painted, and as you get closer it looks very, very obvious. But if you look at it from far away, I mean, you can barely tell that these windows aren't even so anyways, now it's a beautiful day. It's not windy. Nobody stole my van last night, so I'm gonna rip these off. They've done their job, they've served their purpose, and I'm gonna put my windows back in for the final time. I bought an excess amount of Sikaflex. Sikaflex is the urethane component that you use to seal in the windows. I'm gonna go very liberal with it. I'm gonna go crazy with it. And I'm gonna seal these windows back onto the surface of the van, and we're gonna be good to go. I will tell you a couple of things that I'm doing on this van with this installation that I'm gonna do differently, and probably different than most people that do window installations, depending on how you're going to do the interior. The windows, I want to be adhering as close to the surface of the van as possible so I can get a good stick. And so what I did is I pulled out this. This is the edging that would normally be around the edge of the van window cutout. So that would go along this edge that goes around every window. It's basically just the metal cutout that I actually used to cut the windows out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm not going to put that border on this piece, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create an interior surface of this van, and I'm going to cover up all of that edging with whatever I decide, tweed or some sort of fabric or something. And so it's not that important for me to have an edge on this. The other thing that it's going to allow me to do is get in there and spread that urethane more liberally. So after I stick the window on, I'm going to take a tool with some soapy water, and I'm just going to go in here and make sure that I can get into this surface and spread out that urethane so that it adheres to both the van and the glass. All right. So here we go. You can see here, this was the last placing of the urethane I did. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, wash the surface of the van, let it dry, and then start putting on the urethane so that I can stick these windows on for the last time. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. Cardboard or an open window. I decided on cardboard, and I think it was a good choice. Another thing I did is I did a really bad job, but I painted the surface between the rear quarter and the center window, because this was a white. You could see this through the windows. It was white. And so when I put all the windows on, this panel will look like one, because that black will bleed through and that crack won't be seen as white. I might sand that down and do a couple of more sprays on it first. Before I really got started, I decided to tape off the window here and do a couple of more sprays on this backing area. I did 3 coats of matte black, and then I'm going to do one more coat of clear coat in 30 minutes. And I did it right underneath this edge here, all the way up to here. So when this window flaps open, it'll be nice and black underneath. You won't see that white edge until the white edge of the van. It should match up pretty nice. So while that's drying, I'm going to get the rear windows prepped and ready to go. Yeah, doing good so far. Beautiful day for it, that's for sure. And I'm setting up my window station in front of the van in the sunlight. I'm using a urethane compound called Sikaflex. Really, really good stuff, but it needs to be warm, so I'm going to lay it out in the sun. Hopefully it can warm up a little bit. I'll also fill up a hot water bucket and then put these in there so they start warming up extra. I'm going to clean off the window, make sure the inside is good to go, and then we'll start putting windows on. Just to give you guys an idea of what happens here, you see this gap? There was water coming through there. This gap here. You have to be really, really careful. This is the first time I glued it, and then this is the second time. So you really have to, even that right there, you know, there's water able to come through this. So you got to make sure you're sealed in good. It's really hot today. I have a feeling that this stuff is really going to spread out nicely. And I also have a Milwaukee automatic caulking gun. These are really nice. Basically hit the button, and at a predetermined rate, it'll drive out the urethane. Just to let you know, this urethane is extremely thick, so you can't hand compress it with a typical hand compression caulking gun. You have to use something with a higher ratio or an automatic something. So the automatic something will do the job on this case. You want to make sure that you clean above the windows too, because that's where your tape is going to sit, and the tape is what's going to hold the window from sliding down. That's what I was talking about. I don't know if you could see it, but I scratched the paint, so I'm gonna try and clean that off and put some paint on it before I put the window back on. I got some touch-up paint.
This edge really doesn't matter very much because this is all going to be under the window. So I wanted to leave some exposed so that the urethane has something to stick to. But that will show. And that looks nice. Super nice. All right, guys, we are ready to go. I'm going to do the rear windows first. I've got my my gun here. I figured I'd show you what I'm doing to clean up the windows. So I'm wiping them with mineral spirits, and then I'm scraping them with a little scraper tool just around the old gasket, just to try and make sure I don't have any big glumpy left on globs. I don't want to press too hard, but get the globby stuff off. Especially seeing as though once the window is sealed in, I want to have a chance to get down into the areas near the border of the glass. I'm not too concerned with the surface of the glass because I can clean that once the window's in place. The window's warm, the surface of the van is warm. I've done all I can do. Ready? Let's do this thing. Here we go. I'm going to do a pretty thick bead. All right, this window went in a lot different than the first one. The Sikaflex comes out way more gooey. Maybe not gooey, more fluid. I didn't even need to really thicken the bead. And seeing as though I didn't put that edging on the inside, I can actually see the Sikaflex coming up, which is good because I'm going to have an edge here and I can easily see on the inside here if there's any light. Good. I'm very pleased. This is much better than the last one. Okay, we're finished with these two. Now we do these two. It's getting a little later in the day. I got the tape ready, and so the sun has sort of moved. So I turned the van so that it's facing the sunny side, but it's still sunny on this side too. So this window can seal in. Oh, the glass is nice and hot, which I like. Make sure it seals to all surfaces. I hope. That's my theory. Certainly better than the cold, where it's like a stiff bead and you don't know if it's connecting, making contact to anything. All right, before I lay it on, you can see it's really shiny It's globbed. I can see it's bonded to the van side. Let's lay the window in. Let's do the big boy now. Whew, okay. I looked on the inside. I could see some gaps. There was a gap right here, and I opened the door. I looked through, and I let the light from the sun shine through, and I could see it very clearly. And I just applied a lot of pressure on it, and it seemed to fix the problem. I also see this black strip. Can you see it? Can you barely see it? I think that looks good. That's pretty good. Now, if you look at it from the outside, it looks like a nice solid piece. That edge there used to have a really white, like it was a white band because it was the color of the van coming through. And you can see, you know, the gap is about a ½ inch, you know, quite a bit, because I really wanted to make sure that these were as small as possible. I could have shifted that over, but then this gap would have opened up wide. So now it's, the windows are placed really, really nicely. Really. Now it's hot on these two windows, and it's hot on that window. I'm gonna let them sit for a while, and then I will inspect them later just to make sure we're good to go. I guess I have a chance now to align anything if I need to, but it seems like everything's pretty good. We'll just wrap it up. I will clean up the shop a little bit, waste some time, kill some time, and we'll see how it is in a little while. All right, like I said, this is my third time doing these windows. There will not be a fourth time. I'm saying that facetiously, but I'm also saying that literally, because I was really frustrated both times I had to redo these windows. And so this time what I did, I took the electric gun, I trimmed the finest tip, like the finest bead, and then I squirted up into the opening space, whatever opening space there was between the window and the van. I mean, I just went to town on it. There is no opportunity anymore for any liquid to get through. These windows are sealed. I did it to all the windows. I did it to this one, and I did it to those two. They're not only sealed, I've got to go through now and clean up because I kind of went a little nuts. It really doesn't matter 100% because, like I said, I'm going to have borders around these windows, and the area where you can see the window through is actually a gap from the edge of the van, and I'm going to close that gap with whatever border I decide in this van, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. The interior now is my highest priority. These windows are finished. Now I get to think about how I'm going to fill this area in from a reality standpoint. I already thought about it from a design standpoint, just like a basic design. But now I actually have to figure out this electrical component is going to be here, powered from this area. The cables are going to go, you know, through certain areas. How is my ceiling going to go? I've been thinking a lot about that. There's a lot to think about here. And I spent about 3 extra days, 4 extra, 5 extra, a lot of extra week or more on these windows than I had intended. And now I feel like the windows are done. There is no way that I'm going to have any more window issues unless it's some sort of factory defect. That's the famous last words, I know, but I'm pretty sure of it. All right, guys, I spent the last few hours cleaning up the shop. Something my dad always taught me was treat your shop like your own, no matter if it's yours or not. And I spent the last couple of hours cleaning it out. And it allowed time for the Sikaflex to dry. It's hardening already. I think I'll be okay to drive home. Let me show you one thing that Just Roaming is doing. They put together pre-made boxes for companies and also end users, but mostly companies order these boxes from him, and so he can assemble them with Victron components, wire them up, make sure that they're designed specifically to the van that's going to be housing this. For example, you know, if they have a bunch of appliances, or if they have a unique voltage requirement, or solar panels, or whatever, everything is told to them, and then they go ahead and integrate it into this pre-made box, and then send the box to the builder, and then the builder can just pop it in, and you're good to go. Very cool. I'm learning a lot here, actually. And Sam from Just Roaming, I feel like a lot of the people on this tour so far have become sort of transcended from like a sponsor or maybe more of a partnership. Who else would let me sit in their garage and in their shop and work on my van? I feel very lucky. Hopefully I can show you some of these things that they're designing. And also down the road, they're actually in the next 5-6 months, they're going to be moving into a much larger shop. It's going to be integrated with the CNC machine, you know, where I cut the floors. That CNC machine is actually going to move into their new facility, which is going to be much, much more conducive to what they do. Instead of having to wait for stuff to come from Portland here, they're just going to have it cut in shop, and they're just being cutting and cutting. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. In the new shop that they're building, they basically can create anything that they want inside, and the first thing that they're going to put in there is a CNC machine, the cutting machine, because as soon as it is inside, it's going to start cutting all of the cabinetry for the shop. So it's sort of like, I was talking to him, I says, it's sort of like when they send the first crew to Mars, and they'll probably send some sort of 3D home printing machine, and then that machine will come first and then build all the infrastructure for the habitat on Mars, you know. But he's doing that, but in his shop. Anyways, it's all sweeped out, it's all cleaned. I think the windows are okay. Tomorrow it's going to rain, so I'll be able to tell you how it works there. Let me know if you think I overdid it or you think I did okay. I actually looked out there and I don't know what's going on, but one piece, if I look behind it, sort of pulled apart. But it's no big deal now because I've gobbed it on so much on the inside and reinforced that seal that there's no way that will pull apart. But I don't know, maybe I'm unlucky with windows. What's next? We met with a company called Rixon's the other day. Rixon's, I really wanted to show you that video because I went there with Sam from this company, and because they're going to work together on doing floors, because the floor that we put in my van is actually sort of like a prototype test to test on my van. It's one of the reasons that he really is excited about doing that project for me, is that he knows that is going to pay dividends and learning how it went in and practicing and everything. So that was sort of like a learning experience, and it was a learning experience for me too. But Rixon's designs all the Eberspacher heating components. Well, they don't design the components, but they install those components along with their own components in order to manage and provide hot water, air, and hot flooring to a system. So we went out there. It was very, very cool. They gave me all of the components in order to heat the van. Really, really cool advanced stuff. And a really interesting system and company that makes it so, or that puts it together. So we're going to go back to Rixon's. It was kind of funny. He reminded me a lot of my dad. He's like, I don't want you recording in here. I want to clean it up a little bit. It wasn't dirty per se. It was just busy. It was the shop of a true blue-blooded American. You know, he just had a lot of stuff going on at the same time. Anyways, we'll go back to Rixon's and raise the van up, hook in the heating system to the gas tank, because that's how it feeds from the gas tank and also from the engine coolant. A very, very innovative system, but we'll talk more about that later.
For now, I'm going to wrap up the episode. I'm going to go home, back home to Portland. I've been very busy with like doing van stuff, so much so that by the time I get home, not really interested in editing videos. If you guys don't know, I don't think I told anybody, I had gout the last few days. If you guys have never had gout before, it is painful. I was walking like an elderly person. I probably am an elderly person by now, but it was very, very painful. As a matter of fact, this was my feet just yesterday and the day before. And it was 3 days of just excruciating pain. But finally, I changed my diet. I drank a lot of fluids, and I was able to flush it out. And so now I'm kind of like back in the zone. Tomorrow, I think I'll be about 100%. Today, I'm like 90. Anyways, thanks, guys. Jayoe, like, subscribe, share, comment. I'll leave links to Just Roaming Design. They do a lot of like business with builders. So if you're a builder of a van, maybe you can contact Just Roaming, and they can help you with your van's projects, electrical systems. That's sort of what they do. The guy is super cool. He's only 25 years old, the guy that owns this company. I remember the days when I was on par with that youth marker, and I was like, you're young just like me. Oh, we're two peas in a pod, making things happen. And now I'm hearing people who are 25, and he understands electronics way better than me. He'll talk to me about what he wants to do with my van and the electrical system, and I'll feel like a kid talking to a wiser person. And I am in some ways. It's just wisdom is not always connected to age. And Sam here, he's a pretty wise guy. Anyways, talk to you later. Jayoe, like, subscribe, share, comment. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.